licensed to kill, and has done so on numerous occasions.
He's a double O.
And there are very few people who haven't heard of Bond. British Secret Service 007 licensed to kill. He's good, even by my standards.
He is licensed to kill and has done so 415 times throughout 24 films, from 1962's Dr. No to 2015's Spectre. Of course, a lot of these kills were just some generic goons that Bond took down in the countless villain lairs that he visited. But some more personal kills that Bond made often had a great impact, were unforgettable or very iconic.
Shocking.
It's usually pretty exciting to see this suave secret agent show his deadly and ruthless side, only for it to be followed up by one of his standard issued one-liners.
What a helpful chap.
I took the time to take a look at 10 of Bond's kills that were most memorable, badass, cold-blooded, iconic, or all the above, in my opinion. First off, an honorable mention has to be made, and that one goes to Red Grant, which seriously is one of the darkest and most brutal kills in the series, but just barely missed out on my list. With 415 kills to choose from, some great ones are just bound to miss out. And a dishonorable mention goes to the freaking stupid death of Dr. Kananga. Just what the fuck, that shit is just too much Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for me. And there's not even anything inside his body when the dude blows up. It's just terrible. Anyway, on to the ranking. In License to Kill, the corrupt DEA agent Ed Killefer accepts a bribe of drug lord Fran Sanchez of $2 million in exchange for helping him make an elaborate escape. Because of this, he betrays his fellow agent Felix Leiter, who gets his legs bitten off by sharks.
Sorry, old buddy, but $2 million is a hell of a chunk of dough.
And when Bond finds out about the fate of his best friend and learns that Killefer is partially responsible, he shows one of Bond's most ruthless and cold-blooded sides.
There's $2 million in that suitcase. I'll split it with you. You earned it. You keep it, old buddy.
This really is a strong point of Dalton when it comes to his portrayal of Bond. You do not want to mess with him or his friends. He gives you this chilling feeling when he shows little emotion as he gives that blank stare down on Killefer being eaten alive. And unlike, any normal human being, Bond would much rather spend $2 million in cash to take down a greedy bastard, because he's simply that badass. And it's Sharky that gets to make the one-line.
God, what a terrible waste of money.
Fiona Volpe was arguably the first true femme fatale in the series and definitely one of the highlights to Thunderball. She stole every scene that she was in, and when Bond gets chased down by her and her men at the junk canoe parade in the Bahamas, he is forced to take a dance with her while he knows that he's in great danger. It's one of the best moments in the film. Now you could argue that Bond didn't make this kill as he did not pull the trigger, but that's like saying when you push someone in front of a train, you didn't kill that person. Bond clearly used her as a shield and the bullet ends up directly in between his fingers. It's just classic. And of course Connery doesn't fail to give this dark scene a lighthearted touch.
One of my friends sits this one out. She's just dead.
Le Chiffre is the menacing and scary main villain in Casino Royale, who is reduced to a helpless little crybaby next to Stephen O'Bano, the feared army commander and terrorist to which he owes a lot of money. And things get pretty darn brutal when Bond engages in a fight with this guy. Not only is this fight in the stairwell one of the best updated and modern fight scenes in the entire series, but in Casino Royale, killing is gritty, dirty, realistic and has some serious impact. And straight from his debut, Craig showed that he's a Bond not to be taken lightly. No cheesy one-liners following this one. Death is as serious as it gets in this film and has some real repercussions on the character of Bond, as we learn that killing takes a major toll on him at the early stages of his career, and that made for one of the most memorable moments in the series. When Bond is chilling in the tropical beaches of the Bahamas with one of the hottest chicks in the series next to him, one of Largos' henchmen shows up to try and make a stealth kill on Bond. But unfortunately for Vargas, he's dealing with the coolest guy on the planet.
Vargas behind you.
Really?
He must have followed us.
I think you got the point.
This has to be one of the most suave and casually relaxed kills in the series. Bond has just been told that the lethal assassin is onto him, and he acts as if she just said that there's a fly on the wall. He just casually turns around, barely even has a glimpse of where the guy is even standing, pins him down a tree with a frickin' harpoon while looking like the sexy bastard that he is, as if it was just another casual chore that came up as he proceeds his day. Ah yes, only Connery. So, I think he got the point. Now you can have mine. On the wedding day of his best friend Felix, Bond receives a special gift. When drug lord Frank Sanchez later has Felix fed to the sharks and his wife raped and murdered, Bond is devastated and furious and sets out on a personal vendetta to kill this untouchable drug lord. When the movie reaches its climax, Bond's gift comes into play.
You could have had everything. Don't you want to know why?
It's one of the best main villain deaths in the series, and a perfect ending to the great character of Sanchez, who's doused in his own cocaine-filled gasoline and is set on fire. And Bond is perfectly illustrated as a human being, as he had to literally go through blood, tears and sweat to finally get to this man. Usually all the kills that Roger Moore's Bond makes are pretty light-hearted and humorous, but not in the more serious For Your Eyes Only. When Bond's ally Luigi Ferrara is murdered by Emile Locke, a pin of the Dove logo is left on his body, so later on Bond gets a bittersweet revenge.
You left this with Ferrara, I believe.
From what I heard, originally Roger only wanted to throw in the pin which would cause the car to fall down because of the change in weight, but director John Glenn insisted on the cold-blooded kick, and I'm so glad that is how it ended up being in the movie. Seeing Roger's Bond doing something dark like this in his fifth film is so welcomed, and it instantly made for one of the most memorable moments in the series.
Had no head for heights.
In The World Is Not Enough, Bond is sent out to protect the beautiful and mysterious daughter of an oil tycoon named Elektra King, who he builds a great weakness for and is manipulated by along the way. As it turns out near the end of the film, she's actually been the villain all along, and Bond has been played out. When the film reaches a climax, Bond chases her down to the top of her tower in Istanbul, and it's here where we see one of the rare instances in which Brosnan gets a cold-blooded moment.
You wouldn't kill me. You'd miss me.
Yes.
Dive, Bond!
I never miss.
It's almost surprising and yet bittersweet. During the entire film we are shown that Bond cared about this chick, and even to the last seconds you can see the hesitation in his eyes. But when she doesn't do as he says, he becomes the cold-blooded professional that he's expected to be, and no matter if she had a vagina or not, Bond just shoots the bitch. It's a very rare moment in the series for Bond to just shoot down a woman heads on, but it made for a fantastic moment and exit to her great character.
I never miss.
At least she got to bang her first, James. In Bond's first cinematic adventure, we learn that Professor Dent is secretly working for the mysterious Dr. No, and when Bond finds out about this, he awaits his visit at nighttime at Miss Darrow's house, tactically placing some pillows and playing some cards until Dent shows up.
Drop it, Professor, and behind you. Who are you working for, Professor?
Well, you might as well know, as you want to live to use the information.
I'm working for... This is Smith & Wesson. And you've had your 6.
This honestly has to be one of my favorite cold-blooded kills in the entire series, and I was thinking of placing this one at number 1, but what gets it down slightly for me is the dated sound effects of the gunshot. For nowadays standards, this takes away a little bit of the brutality of the scene, but still, it's all masterfully done. We as the audience know that Dent is trying to get back to his gun while he's being interrogated by Bond, and for a moment we think that Bond doesn't notice. But as he reaches for his gun, Connery once again shows his unbeatable and ridiculously high level of suaveness and confidence. Of course, he already knew that Dent was out of bullets, he just counted them, and so he just takes care of him in the most completely relaxed manner. It's a Smith & Wesson, and you've had your 6. If there was ever a cold-blooded moment for Brosnan's Bond that tops the killing of Elektra King, it's the scene with Dr. Kaufman in Tomorrow Never Dies, one of the best moments in that film. Dr. Kaufman only really has one scene, but he's a twisted, hilariously scary presence when he does appear, and Bond's death is supposed to be staged next to Paris Carver.
It won't look like a suicide if you shoot me from over there.
I am a professor of forensic medicine. Believe me, Mr. Bond, I could shoot you from Stuttgart and still create the proper effect.
Fortunately, things turn around in favor for Bond.
Recall 3, send.
Wait! I'm just a professional doing a job.
Me too.
It really is one of the most badass and perhaps overlooked kills in the series, and I'm so glad that Brosnan got to have it, since he made dozens and dozens of generic machine gun kills. But this one little moment with a single pistol gunshot made for a great highlight of his run as Bond. In 2006's Casino Royale, the series got a reboot and we got to explore Bond's origins. Straight from the opening sequence, we learn about Bond getting his 00 status, which takes 2 kills, just like in the novels. We immediately get a moody black and white scene in which Bond's first kill is showcased, and the second one is the corrupt MI6 section chief in Prague, Dryden.
M really doesn't mind you earning a little money on the side, Dryden. She'd just prefer it if it wasn't selling secrets. The theatrics are supposed to scare me. You have the wrong man, Bond. If M was so sure I was bent, she'd have sent a 00. Shame. We barely got to know each other. I know where you keep your gun.
And just as Dryden is about to explain that a second kill is always easier, this happens.
You needn't worry. The second is... Yes. Considerably.
And thus, we are fired into what I view to be a brilliant opening of the rebooted era of Bond films. The way we are shown Bond's first 2 kills is just expertly done. Within seconds, Craig shows us the cold-blooded and confident side that was first portrayed by Connery. We get the typical Bondian one-liner that leads into the gun barrel that symbolized Bond's first kill, and that gritty opening perfectly showcased what killing should be like in Bond's profession. It's rarely personal, it's just his job. Sometimes it gets intimate and dirty, and sometimes it's just a quick job. But it's always done in some Bondian fashion, and this opening immediately gets you pumped to see what's in store for this new Bond portrayed by Daniel Craig. And that's why these are my favorite kills in the series. Did you like my ranking? What are your favorite kills of Bond and how would you rank them? Leave a comment, and if you can't wait for the new ranking or recapping episodes to come up to my channel, well, support me on Patreon, become part of my community and get access to all my latest videos 2 weeks before the regular viewers get to see it, as well as access to a lot of awesome supporter rewards like having monthly Skype calls with me. You can find the link in the description, and make sure you subscribe to my channel.